Hello and thanks for tuning in for another edition of Hoops Talk. I'm your host, Mike DuPont. Today is Monday, March 9th. Thanks for tuning in. However you might be following along, feel free to check the description in the comments below or the link tree below for additional outlets should you feel so interested. And as always, let's just dive right in. Tough night for the Southwest Division last night as 3 out of 5 teams took a loss. 4 teams in action. Mavericks, Rockets, Spurs all fell last night. The New Orleans Pelicans did come away with the victory. That puts them 4 games behind the Memphis Grizzlies in the 9 slot. Again, the Pelicans are still chasing a playoff seed. They're 4 games behind the Memphis Grizzlies. I believe this is going to have a huge impact on the Rookie of the Year race. Whichever team does finish in the playoffs, I believe that team is going to be honored with the Rookie of the Year. If the Memphis Grizzlies do continue at this pace and they make the playoffs, I believe Morant will win Rookie of the Year simply because the Grizzlies were not, nobody seen it. Coming from somebody who embraces the Grizzlies, nobody saw the Grizzlies having the impact that they've had this season and making a playoff run, a playoff push that they've made. And on the flip side of that conversation, the same thing for the Pelicans. The Pelicans are able to make a late surge after the return of Zion Williamson, climb up the standings and make the playoffs. I believe that's got to be an indication of what you can expect from this Pelicans team that is stockpiled with potential when you think about Lonzo Ball, Brandon Ingram, Zion Williamson, Drew Holiday, everything that this team has to offer in terms of potential. 3 of those 4 players haven't even reached their apex yet in terms of growth. When you look at what all this team has to offer, I believe that there's a lot of upside when you're thinking about the Pelicans 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. Not only that, but you've also got to remember these 2 players are in the same division, so we're going to continue seeing them matching up against each other. Moving right along, over the weekend, we said goodbye to one of our NBA coaches. Kenny Atkinson and the Brooklyn Nets did agree to terms of his departure, if you'll put it. Kenny Atkinson departed from the Brooklyn Nets after, I believe it was about 5 seasons that he spent with the Nets, helping them with their transition from the Paul Pierce, Kevin Garnett, Joe Johnson era, whatever you want to call that, into what they are now. And again, Kenny Atkinson no longer with the Brooklyn Nets. Sean Marks decided after meeting with Kenny Atkinson that it would be best to part ways. Jacques Vaughn is currently the head coach in position. Currently the head coach. He'll be the head coach for the remainder of the season, I'm assuming. And we'll see the Brooklyn Nets with a new coach next season. Doubt it'll be Jacques Vaughn. Few names that I considered. I talked with a few people over the weekend. Give a few of our regular Hoops Talk supporters a shout out because I did reach out to several of you and I got a response from a few of you. So I want to shout out to Just Jordan, my buddy Hutch out there for responding. A few names to potentially replace Kenny Atkinson. At the top of the list, Sam Cassell, coming off the bench and right now currently an assistant coach with the Clippers. Sam Cassell would be an interesting name. Another interesting name, Jason Kidd, was another interesting name that was discussed over the weekend. Now, I know Jason Kidd has an interesting past with the Brooklyn Nets, but I would like to remind you that the Brooklyn Nets went ahead and traded Jason Kidd, and that's going to come up later when we mention another name. They traded Jason Kidd to the Milwaukee Bucks for 2 second-round picks. Not too much, nothing too overwhelming. They traded him to Milwaukee for 2 second-round picks. And that was while the Nets had Billy King in place as their general manager. Billy King is no longer in Brooklyn. Billy King is no longer in professional basketball in the NBA right now. So I believe that Jason Kidd's return to Brooklyn could be revisited for the main reason that Billy King is not there. And Jason Kidd, the last time I checked, his jersey is still hanging in the Raptors, and he can still say that he spent 5 years coaching Giannis Antetokounmpo. So he does have experience coaching stars. He does have experience around stars in reaching their prime and in their prime. He can say his experience with that right now. He's an assistant coach with the Lakers. He's in LeBron's ear. No coincidence, LeBron is leading the league in assists while he's got one of the all-time assist leaders in his ear, watching from the sideline, telling him everything he sees on the court. So So that's another name that I'll throw out there. Again, Sam Cassell, Jason Kidd, two potential names. Lionel Hollins, currently serving as an assistant coach out in Los Angeles. And another potential name, Monty Williams. I know Monty Williams is in Phoenix right now, and he just re-upped on a new deal. But as we mentioned with Jason Kidd, there are ways around that. The Phoenix Suns the most obvious way is the Phoenix Suns could agree to some type of buyout with Monty Williams, which I doubt they'll be motivated to do with the team that they currently have in place, and that's totally understandable for the Phoenix Suns. Excuse me. The Brooklyn Nets could also send a trade offer to incentivize the Phoenix Suns to let go of Monty Williams. And keep in mind that I did mention earlier, the Milwaukee Bucks did trade for Jason Kidd as a coach. You can trade for coaches. I was a little bit surprised looking that up myself. It only cost 2 second-round picks, and they were not in consecutive seasons. It was a 2014 second-round pick, a 2019 second-round pick for the Milwaukee Bucks to get Jason Kidd for 5 seasons. So those would be some interesting names to hear. I'd love to hear back from you if you have some names of your own, or maybe if you agree or disagree on the names that I threw out there. Into our Vegas minute, we've got 3 NBA games on the slate today. 2 of them look very interesting from a Vegas standpoint. The Hornets and the Hawks are taking place in Atlanta. I believe the Hawks are favored by, I want to say, about 4 points. It's a very interesting game because, I'll just state the obvious. These are 2 teams that have not had a lot of success this season. The Hawks are at home and they're favored to win, which is why I would advise you, if you're interested, if your heart compels you to do so, notice how I do that. If your heart compels you to do so, the Hornets would be an interesting bet today to take that 4-point spread against the Hawks. They're favored to lose in Atlanta. The Hawks have some bad losses. Not only did they lose, they got blown out by the Grizzlies at home. Then they went on the road, lost again. It's not like they're playing back-to-back home games in a situation where you don't think they'll lose twice. They lost at home, went out on the road, lost again, and now they're back at home. So it's going to be interesting. Again, like I said, the Hornets are an interesting bet there with the Hawks favored to win by 4. Hawks have one of the 3 worst records in the NBA. That would be an interesting bite if you feel compelled to do so. Another interesting bite right now would be the Buckets versus the Nuggets. The Bucks versus the Nuggets tonight. The Bucks are scheduled to face the Nuggets on NBA television. The Bucks will be without Giannis Antetokounmpo. Giannis has missed the last few games after a leg injury suffered against the Lakers. Giannis will not play tonight, but the Bucks have been able to win games without him. The Nuggets are favored to win this game tonight. Those are 2 interesting games: Hornets versus Hawks, Bucks versus Nuggets. If you're interested in the Vegas minute, that would be I know it was a little bit longer than a minute today, but that's Vegas for you. As always, we appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for your time. We hope you enjoy your time with your family. We hope you enjoy your time with yourself. We look forward to being with you tomorrow, and have a blessed day.